Hello, this is Paola Guthrie from Creating Purpose with Pao, and I welcome you to the Spanglish World Network and H.E.R Network on Zingo TV channels 250 and 251. Please download the app at the respective app stores. While you download the Zingo TV app, please remember to rate it and to leave a comment because we love feedback. Zingo TV app is totally free. You can find Google Chromecast and Zingo TV. You can also have availability to Amazon Fire and Fire TV sticks, as well as Roku and Roku sticks. And you can find Zingo TV and all smart TVs from 2016 forward. Thank you for being here today. I would love to welcome our friend, Charlya Barbarita Howard. She's having technical difficulties at this time, and she's here with us to share her story. May is the month of mental health. So she has a beautiful story to share with us. And while she joins us, I'll just, share with you what I believe the mental health is. Mental health is brain health, as easy as that. And I believe what Dr. Amen has taught me, that mental health equals brain health, which has four different circles in our life. The first one is our biology, which is our physical health. How are we taking care of our body? How are we nurturing our body? Are we drinking plenty of water? Are we sleeping in plenty of hours? Our biology plays a huge role. What we eat matters. Our sometimes we have allergies. Sometimes we are exposed to toxins, and that harms our biology. So we have to be aware of like what toxics we're exposed to. So that's that kind of like the circle of our beautiful biology that we need to take care of, that plays a huge role in our mental health. The next one is our psychology. Like, how do we talk to ourselves? What is the concept that you have about you? It's like, are you struggling with forgiving yourself? Are you struggling with loving yourself? Sometimes we pay attention to our everyday life, but we forget to look internally and see how we're doing. So that plays a huge role on our mental health. Working those traumas that we have developed through the years, even from our infancy. Sometimes it could be that we're afraid of a dog because you've seen a dog biting a person, and then like there's just a small trauma. It doesn't have to be like violent involved on a huge accident or anything. Like, trauma can be from tiny to as big as we want to talk about. So part of our psychology and our mental health, which is our brain health, it's how are we treating ourselves? What do we think about ourselves? What are our standards? If we have low standards, it's like we can always have room to increase those standards and improve our life. But it begins with us. It begins of how do we think of ourselves and how can we improve? Our psychology also plays a role on our environment. Like, what environment are you choosing to step in? Or maybe you choose to move away from an environment that is not serving you. So that's part of your psychology as well. The third area that Dr. Amen teaches us is about our social life. Like, how are we treating others? How are we connecting with others? Here lately, I discovered that somehow I had a limiting belief that I created, years ago, because it's like I am an immigrant. So being an immigrant, you come with a background where, like, you're different to begin with, and you're in a land that it's not yours. You have to be familiarized with everything. You have to learn the new language, the new culture. And somehow it's like I thought that I wasn't accepted, but it's something I created. And sometimes we create those limiting beliefs. So I created that belief that I wasn't enough to fit in the culture. So I thought people wasn't welcoming, or like they weren't open to like have a friendship or a conversation, or like a true meaning conversation or friendship, but it was part of my psychology, and that was stopping me. It has stopped me, in the past, from creating new connection, like meaningful connections. So what story are you telling yourself in your social life? Because I was telling a story that wasn't serving me. I was telling a story that, like I said, that I wasn't enough, that I didn't qualify, that I didn't speak perfectly the language. So what story are you telling yourself around your environment and in your social environment? Because now, hey, she is back. Yay! Can you hear me? Charlotte, can you hear me?
I can. Good
Oh,
morning.
you gotta love. Yeah,
Can you
I'm
hear
so
me?
glad that you. Yes, I can hear you. Can I welcome you?
Oh, please.
Okay, so today in the house we have Charlya Barbarita Howard. She is a beautiful soul that is
Oh,
here
you
to share her
froze for me.
story. Oh, I'm so excited that she is here, and let's just pray for technology that she can connect and she can listen and share her
I
beautiful
am so
story with
excited to
us.
be here. Me too.
Okay. I'm going to ask the question. Hopefully, you can listen to me. So, please tell us, before you became a neuroencoder,
Yeah.
before you became a coach,
Can you
who was
hear?
Charla?
Can you hear me? Okay, though.
Let's try it. Yeah, I can hear you. Okay, now yeah, it's
Very
choppy.
successful career. I was blessed beyond measure. I graduated high school early. I went to college early. Developed a lot of passion for working with no. Try something.
Okay.
Let me try something closer to the browser of the
Okay.
internet and see
Barbara
if
was a
that.
mental health. Okay. Barbara was a mental health nurse. So
Okay, is that any better?
yes, yeah, it's a lot better.
Hear me or no? No.
Yes.
I want to do because we're having technical.
Let's go on with the show. Let's please share your story. Tell us who was Charla before you became a neuroencoder, before you became a coach.
It is better. Okay. So career. I okay. Let's try. Okay. Thank you. Um, I had a very successful career, foster care homes up in the state of Michigan. I loved working with MRDD. And from that juncture, I heard our life and our we want. And so that begins my journey. But before I did private duty, I lived on a yacht. I lived in Greece for 3 years. I mean, like I said, I've had a beautiful career. Can you hear me? I'm sorry, we're having technical difficulties. I don't know what's happening. Um,
So you had a successful career and you lived in Greece and
okay, and now I see the lag. Okay, got it. After after Greece, I had saved all my money because I was taking care of a patient and I got paid to live there. So I saved all my money. And unfortunately, the patient had passed away, but he left me in his will. And that of able to buy my first group home, which is my passion of working in mental health. I had a lot of dual diagnosis of MRDD with some mental health issues. So again, we did that for over 10 years. My husband came to me and he says, honey, he says, I really want to live our own. And we tried and we tried. And eventually what happened is we decided to adopt because it just went well. And at there, we were in the process of adopting, got the home studies all done. It was beautiful. We passed with flying colors. And they found out I was pregnant. And we were elated. My life was perfect, perfect. Um, deep in the ministry of my church. The residents, we had 15 passenger vans. The residents went to church with us. I was in charge of all psychiatric appointments and just working, making behavior plans, and I'm very well known in Michigan with state licensure board. And do you want to continue?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So at that juncture, it was, well, you know how you got to have medical insurance to have a baby these days, and you never know if complications. And being in the medical field, I'm proactive. So I thought, okay, I'm going to get hired at the local hospital just so I have insurance. For a business owner, you got to pay for all that yourself. So I got hired at a local hospital in Michigan as a staffing coordinator. I was in charge of 3,000 plus staff. I was about 8 months pregnant when I was walking by a patient, and it still gets to me sometimes. I was walking by a patient's room, and two of my nurses yelled out, "H.E.R, come help us!" And like firefighters, good Samaritans, nurses, doctors, we all just run in to assist. And I didn't even a nanosecond of my son. And when I ran in that room, when I should have called for help or I should have called a code, because I know what was happening, they just yelled for. When we approached, they were transferring a very tall stroke patient, and he was panicking. They lost grip on the transfer belt. And in slow motion, I saw this patient coming back toward me, and he fell on top of me, breaking my back in several places and killing my unborn son, Michael. And people told me late. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just want to pause for a little bit and bring some awareness to me and to all of us that is listening to us, because our friend Charla, had a perfect life, and then within 1 second everything turned around. 1 second, she lost her unborn baby Michael. uh, her back was broken, so that only tell us that she lost her independence, as well. uh, she'll share here in a little bit that she was in a nursing home for about 3 years. So I would like to just stop for just a little bit and bring that awareness that, for all of us that have a family, a husband, children, and we're having a bad day because maybe they didn't clean up the room. Maybe we're having a bad morning because the coffee maker didn't work, and we're not, we don't have our coffee, or we're having a bad day because technology is not working. I want you to just share the gift that she's giving to us, like just be grateful, like just be grateful right now for what we have. And if we're having a bad day, it's like
Amen.
truly analyze why we're having a bad day. Because I think her story is full of gratitude, for us, that we have the family, that we have the independence. Is like to bring the awareness to, like, okay, my goodness, how can I be grateful for right now, and forgive my husband because he didn't pick up his clothes this morning, or my children because they left the plates on the table. So please continue. I just wanted to, like bring everybody to, like, let's just be grateful
Absolutely.
for just a second. uh
Oh, that's funny that you brought that up. I was going to say that. I was going to say, at that moment, my mind became fractured. I was no longer there. I was so broken. As I laid there, as the team starts rushing toward me, I was screaming from physical pain. I knew my son was dead. I knew, felt it. I knew. And because of that accident, I had to cancel the adoption. So I lost 2 babies in a split second. And I could never carry children after that. I spent 3 years in a nursing home with 7 back surgeries. But my very first surgery was to take my precious Michael, and I was awake for it. That trauma caused a lot of problems for me. Problems that I didn't think I would ever get over. Then, as I was in the nursing home, my husband chose to divorce me. So you compile that with abandonment. Now remember, I was a mental health provider and I couldn't help myself. I couldn't transition. So for the next 18 years, I could help with food. Food became an idol for me. Counseling to transition, I was stuck. All I could think about was, oh, it was his birthday. This is the anniversary of his death. What would he have looked like? What mission would he have chosen? So for 18 years, let's go back a little bit. The 3 years, all friends, family, they felt bad for me. Like, H.E.R, what can we do for you? Well, I didn't realize fractured psyche and my emotions had become manipulative. And I all for food. Bring me a bucket of chicken. Bring me McDonald's. Bring me this. It's very rare that you can go from 160 pounds in a nursing home, 300. When I got out of the nursing, it was like I was free to go to the refrigerator if I wanted to. And I was constantly eating. There was never a time there was not something in my mouth. And one day, after being a severe diabetic, 6 shots a day, intensive care several times a year, renal failure, congestive heart failure, I'm 400 pounds. I was tired. I became septic and I almost died. And I got to be honest with y'all, I wanted to die. I didn't want to. 18 years living in that prison, tethered to oxygen tanks. I didn't want to live anymore. But I survived. And that following day, on October 23rd, 2015, I don't know where your faith is, and I'm not here to. I know what my faith is. I know what happened to me. I can only share my testimony of what happened to me. I went to church, and the sermon is about gluttony. And I forward and I said to God, okay, I'm okay that I'll never walk again, Lord. I'm okay with that. I've done that. But please heal me of the grief and the gluttony. I'm killing myself. And I said, I had just a little hope. A little hope from that sermon. Now, have you ever heard of people having in dreams, or they have a aha moment, epiphany? That's what happened to me. Um, he gave me the most precious gift. I was no longer in church. It was transported up in the heavenlies. And this giant hand came down, and there was a little baby boy. I got to move for a minute. I apologize. There was this little baby boy nestled in God's right hand. And I'm sorry I had to move, guys. So there was this little baby in God's right hand. And on the wrist of this said Michael. And I'm like, okay, I thought I had really lost my mind. And that little baby boy sat up in that palm of the hand and he said, Mom, let me go. You're breaking my heart, breaking God's heart. Let me go. You didn't have me on earth, but you're going to have me up here for eternity. Let me go. And then he said something so pivotal that was like my aha moment. I realized when he said this what my problem was. Immediately, when I'm about to tell you, my mind, my emotions, my spirit, all connected again. He says, Mom, it was an accident. I forgive you. Forgive yourself. You see, I because I didn't protect my son. And then he said, I'm up here trying to finish your race, and you won't let me cheer. Let me go. At that moment, and I mean instantaneously, I asked God me for using food as an idol. And the last thing I'm going to say before you want to ask any more questions, and I'll transition into an after that, which is beautiful. I forgave my husband who abandoned me, and God replaced that abandonment with empathy because he was broken too. His son, his wife lost legs. I was weeping at that altar. I mean, but it was a good weep. It was gut healing, you know. And then the hardest part is I forgave myself. Huge weight come off my shoulders. And I rolled away from the altar. Is there anything you want to ask? You want me to continue?
I just, let's just bring some awareness for anybody out there that is dealing with guilt, because something we did that we didn't mean to do it, but it happened and we're still dealing with that heavy bag, and we haven't been able to forgive ourselves.
Yep.
Or we have not been able to forgive others. Because like Charlotte was saying, her husband lost two kids, the one they were planning to adopt and the one that they were expecting. And also he lost his wife, the life that they had. It just it disappeared, it crumbled. So he didn't know how to react. he didn't know how to react. And there's people out there that
Nope.
sometimes we expect so much out of them. You know, we I say so much, it could be just a hand, but they're barely standing on. And sometimes we add that, oh, you know, we add that anger, or we get mad, or we get upset, but in reality we truly don't know what, you know, what's keeping the balance. You know, maybe they're barely standing up, and we want more out of them, right? So she's bringing a beautiful gift today. You
Right.
know, that's why I invited her, because I was like, you bring, you know, gratitude, you know, for those that we have the husband, we have the kids, we have the family, and we're independent, and we are suffering. We're creating our own misery. And if we look at her story, it's like, man, you know, it's like,
Mhm.
this is nothing compared to what she went through. You don't hear this story. I mean, stories like this every day. And then she forgave herself, you know. We're bringing you this opportunity. Like, if you need to forgive yourself, it's healing. If
Took
you
me
need to
18
forgive
years.
someone else, for 18 years. And then
Yes.
she brought, you know, she
And for
substituted
8 years, I didn't hurt
food.
her.
And you know, like, it sounds like you were in pain, and you were numbing the pain with
I was in
food.
extreme amount of pain, extreme amount of pain and self-abusive. You know, as a mental health worker, you know, you see people that are self-sabotaging, and it could be with anything, alcohol or food. It'd be cutting, it could be anything, because they're tortured. You know, my whole premise, my whole life now, is to tell this story, not to bring tears, to bring gratitude for all of you, but it's more than that. For me, I want people not to be like I was. If I can help a handful of people to transition from grief into healing and go through all the steps, then everything I went through is worthwhile. Everything that I lost was worthwhile, because I've gained. See, I rolled away from that altar power chair, and my oxygen tank on the back of it. I didn't tell anybody what happened at the altar. I thought everybody think I was crazy, so I didn't say anything. I wasn't there, but I knew I was smiling. I hadn't seen 18 years, and the gluttony, all because myself. I forgave my husband. Then, about a year, I'm about 80 pounds down, and my therapist saw my leg moving. They rushed me to the local hospital. They did an MRI, and my spinal cord doctor, whom I'd had for over 10 years, almost 15, he said, "Char, don't get your hopes up. You've a lot of weight. Bravo. Your spinal cord, there is no change. You do not think you're ever going to walk again." I want your listener to hear this. 1 month later, I took my first step. This is something that was medical journals, because I was never supposed to walk again. My doctor had me written up in medical journals stating I should never be walking. 2 years fast forward, I was 140 pounds down. I did my first 5K. And I did it with charity to help get off the floor. Every time I worst half marathon, every step, I do it not only for the glory of God, but I do it for my son. Person I help that's 700 pounds, and I have one gentleman that's down to 401 pounds, and he took his first. Every time I help somebody with a menu plan and they have their aha moments, or one lady, I was on Christian radio and she was diabetic for 25 years. I showed her how to get rid of it, or at least lower your A1C. Sometimes it all depends. Each individual is different. She hasn't taken insulin since January. 25 years of insulin shots. So each time I do that, it's my son's cheering for me. Remember he said I'm up here cheering to finish your race? It's a scripture, Hebrews 12:1, that we have such a cloud of witnesses that have gone on before. If you've lost a mother, a father, a child, somebody that you were so close to, that you just feel like you're lost because they're not here, don't you realize that they're cheering you on? So my son cheering me on louder than any football game, people cheering, screaming in the stands. He's proud of his mom now. And so is God. And the last thing I want to say before you ask any questions, can you all see this? I'm going to try to hold it in front of the camera and hold it still. Oh, upside down. Okay. It is a wooden baby nestled in God's hands. And then right there, it says Michael. One of my best friends had this carved for me in Christmas time, so that every time I share this, I can let them have it, let them hold it. And if they've lost a precious baby, I tell them to envision that their baby's name is written right there. And they can say, okay, I will see you again.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing and opening your heart to us. I want to honor two things. I want to honor Charlotte for standing in the altar and asking God for healing. Because when we ask, we receive. You know? And if you need help out there, you can ask. You can ask your higher power, whoever you believe to. You can ask people around you. There are so many people that who are becoming aware of mental health, and there is help out there. You just have to ask.
Right.
So you're not the only one. We all have to balance our brain health, our mental health. Every single person in the world has to learn to balance that. You are not alone, and you can ask for help, just like Charlotte did. And let's honor.
But I want to step farther.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I forgot to say this part. I signed up for counseling immediately because that I had been stubborn and I wanted to hang on. And so I go through the counseling right in the beginning, which I should have done. And I didn't. I caused myself to get stuck with the unforgiveness and the hatred of. But when I rolled away from the altar, even though God had trained me, I did sign up for counseling for 2 years as I was relearning to walk.
Awesome. The second thing I wanted to acknowledge is, Michael, because he's cheering, for his mama. And just like Charlotte shared with us a while ago, it's like if you lost someone, they're cheering for you to continue to finish the race. And she's a model to us, for us to level our standards, because there's people in this earth, but also, in heaven, that are cheering for you because they want you, you know, to live a joyful life. So that's beautiful, you know, that you see your son every time you have the opportunity to help someone. And at the beginning of the interview, you guys couldn't hear because of the audio, but she owned 3 different institutions where they had foster kids. So she has a heart for children, and to help everybody, because then after that she went into the mental health, and she was helping adults. So she has a loving heart uh, for all of us. And I'm so blessed that you're here and you're sharing your story. So please continue. Tell us what happened. How, you know, after you gave your first step, you know, what happened next?
Well, that's the okay. So you can't get out of a wheelchair after 18 years when you were 7 back surgeries, all the scar tissue, the excruciating pain, intense pain, always 24/7. I was on high doses of morphine the whole time. So counseling, I had another epiphany. I spent all those years hating God, hating myself, you know, all that unforgiveness, and I was set free from those chains and that bondage. I back. So I joined a Bible college and graduated in 2019. But during college, walker, I would have to walk and sit, but I was walking. Okay. This was 2016. 2017, near the end of
Hang
2016, after go ahead.
I was going to ask you, what
Do you
was
want me
the
to continue?
purpose? Like, I was going to ask you, like, what was in your mind when you were learning to walk again? Like, what pulled you? You know, was it Michael? You thought of him, and that's what you.
No, I was so grateful to God. I was so grateful that He healed my mind. And then He allowed me to walk. I mean, I was just happy with the mind and the emotions and the joy returning. But then I get this added benefit of being able to walk. I'm about 140. The gratefulness. And I knew that I had to go out and tell this story for other grieving mothers and fathers, other, it doesn't matter who we lost when we grieve. If we don't get help that grieving period, then you get stuck. And my life purpose is to help every person I can. One, mostly to stop the eating addiction. It kills us. It I can't say it any better, but I'm no longer diabetic. I'm walking. I'm breathing. I'm healed of grief. If I can get that far, and 700 and 800-pound patients can get that far too. All to do is love on them, not condemn them, but to realize that there's something in their life that broke them. They need love and patience.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Because, like you mentioned, your mind, you know, it's like it shift. You know, like you fracture. That's the word that you use. You know, your mind got fractured whenever that happened. So somehow it disconnected your mind with your heart. So that's why mental health is so important for all of us to try to balance.
It's very important. very important. The thing is that I never heard of conversion reaction. I don't know how far you are in your career. But our brain health, I started teaching the Daniel plan in my church. Christian loss, like Weight Watchers. But it's Dr. Amen helped found it. Yeah, I can talk. Um, it's based on faith, food, fitness, friends, and focus. The focus was Dr. Amen's part. And every day he would send you something to keep your mental health and your brain focus active. And then Dr. Hyman, who is a functional medicine doctor at the Cleveland Clinic, he was part in implementing the Daniel Plan, which is now worldwide. It's in almost every church. You type in Daniel Plan in your local churches. It's free. That's what I like. Most of these organizations, you pay dues, you weekly dues, you weigh in, and then you go and you're on your own. If you are involved in unity where somebody has your back, and if you're having a hard time, it's like Alcohol Anonymous. If you're having a hard time, you can call somebody and say, okay, my husband brought in a cheesecake and it's calling my name and I don't want to give in, or something. You have unity to have your back. Well, the Daniel Plan I taught for 3 years, but my Daniel Plan was entirely different. I knew that people's makeovers weren't just here, which is the most important, but when you're fractured, you stop taking care of your hygiene. You may not want to get out of bed, or you struggle with everyday, daily living activity. So I would give prizes away when you showed up to group. I would have free makeovers by licensed cosmetologists, cuts, and we had a food co-op that you couldn't afford things, and we had affirmations and all the things that you need. I was so happy. I loved teaching the Daniel Plan. And then I decided to continue my education, and then COVID hit. And I was glad in a way that I had that time of reflection, because something miraculously happened. On a plateau of 140 pounds weight loss, I felt like I could champion other people in their journey until I achieved further success. You could tell somebody, "Oh, I lose weight," but if you're stuck, you know, and I think what it was is my metabolism was stuck. I had lost so much weight. So another epiphany, another beautiful thing happened, and now I'm 213 pounds down. I have a beaut called
Good.
This Is Our Now, Take the Leap of Faith. Yeah. And some Kentucky to this organization I'm part of, to I didn't realize the personal development that they did. And that's where I met Joseph McClendon. I had never heard of Joseph McClendon III ever in my life. Didn't know who he was. And he was a guest speaker at the company that I promote, which is Prove It. It's a long story, but I went down there to share my testimony and to be a part of the very first live audience since COVID. And all these women started screaming. I mean, screaming, "Oh, he's here, he's here." I'm like, who? you know? So I followed them all out. And at that moment, the CEO of Prove It, his name is Brian Underwood, he knew who I was because I had already shared my testimony. And he saw me and he came and hugged me, introduced me to Joseph. And I looked at Joseph and starstruck because I didn't know who he was. And
Mm-hmm.
it was amazing. We talked briefly. And Brian said, "Hey, this is the girl I told you about. She's at that point 197 pounds." And he goes, "Oh, that's wonderful." And he gave me like a elbow bump. I have a video of it. He gave me an elbow bump and he says, "Oh, keep going. You keep pushing on." And we went to go walk away because he was going in the studio. So important because it just shows that when you are in alignment with when you are in the position that you're supposed to be in, things trickle down. Not just joy, but opportunities, doors opened for faster, to learn more, to step into your purpose. So we were leaving, and he said that my spirit just went, wait. I turned on my heels, and I go, I think he said something to me. I said, "Joseph, I know you, but it's not about this. None of this is about me. I get the privilege now of helping every person I meet. My life's purpose now is to impart everything I've learned and put it into other people so that they can break free of those chains and those bondages that have held them captive prisoner." And I walked away. I brought him to tears because when I went into the studio, didn't know he was going to. He went up to, I guess, to Brian and the powers that be and technical people, and he said, "Lady, I was just talking to, do you have any pictures of her?" Oh, they did. They had my before and after. He comes out on stage, and you know how he is. He's all about brain health. He's a PhD in psychology. He spent over $300,000 educating himself to get out there and help people. Can you hear me? I'm thing on my computer pop. So here he goes. Uh, he comes on stage and he goes, "Why do you freaks come here and see me every year?" You know? And, "Oh, we love you, Joseph," and all this stuff. And he says, "No." He says, "That is not why you can see me every year." He says, "You come here because I give you value. I give you something to help you transform and change." And he says, "I just met a lady outside who brought me to tears. And you all need to be aspired to what you're going through. When you come out the other end, have the final step of being able to put it to others. Because if you just keep it to yourself, then it doesn't go anywhere. It causes a ripple effect. We have to get out there and show people that there is opportunity. Counseling, you can conquer with medication sometimes. You can conquer. That's it.
Yes, yes. Uh, you're gonna have to come back because we're running out of time. And I know
Oh,
you
well,
have
okay.
one. We have just a couple of minutes left. Not enough for you to share your other miracle, but I would love for you to be back and we can talk more about mental health because it's brain health. It is brain health,
Yes.
and to do like your physical health is as important as your mental health, and that's one of your phrases. And then I want to share another of her phrases. She said, "Trauma creates change you don't want." Trauma creates change you don't want. So it's going to happen. And it's not what we want. It's just, it happened. And it could be a challenge for us to grow. It's a challenge for us to be better. She says, "Healing Healing is about to create the change that you do want. That's what healing is about, and we have the choice. To me, I see Charla, and I see God's grace, because even through her pain, she was able to transform her life in a way that she can share her story, for us to be grateful for who we are and what we have, for us to forgive, for us to say, okay, how can I lose, that weight? How can how is my mental health? Is it fracture? Is it connected with my integrity, with my love? It's like she brings so much gifts to all of us. And I so appreciate you staying, even if technology wasn't working at first. So I so appreciate you for being here. You're a blessing. And anything you want to share before we have,
So
I think we
you.
have about 1 minute. Thank you. Anything you want to share? I think we have about 1 minute left before we go.
It'd be my pleasure. It'd be my pleasure. My pleasure to come back. And next time there will not be any technical difficulty.
Yeah, I mean, we both prayed for technology this morning. She's like, I'm praying that everything works out, and it didn't. But life happens, and we just went with it. I started the show. I was like, she's gonna show up, and and I move on. And then I was so happy to see you, to be able to hear your story again and share it with our audience. So it is just it's beautiful, and it's May, month of mental health awareness. So remember that is your biology, which is your physical health. It is our psychology. What do we think of ourselves? It's like, are we loving? Are we practicing self-love? Social, how are we treating others? Like on social, I would love to share with you is like, think everybody loves you, everybody likes you, because if they would see your soul, they would fall in love with you. So that's just my biggest advice on social. Just think that everybody likes you, everybody loves you. Just walk around with a smile. And then your spiritual. Your spiritual is so important in our mental health. Dr. Amen says that every one of his patients that practice the spirituality part, they heal faster. And I thought that was amazing. So our spiritual, connect with your higher power, connect with nature, gratitude. Anything you want to add, Charlotte?
Yes. Real Amen. He says we have to have A and T. That means is we get rid of automatic negative thinking.
Yes. Thank you so much for being here today. So this show can also be heard on the Spanglish Radio Network. Please go to spanglishworld.ca for all the news and programming. Please download the app, Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Blessings to you all, and have an awesome day. High five.